Okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Committee on Public Safety and Mass Transit. Today is September 16th, 2014. It's the 19th session, and we're late, 2:15. Please turn off your cell phones, pagers, and other mobile communication devices, or at the very minimum, put them on the silent mode. I'm calling this meeting to order. Here at the table is Mr. Iligan, Mr. Kern, Ms. Eoff, Mr. Yoshimoto, Ms. Willie, and Ms. Poindexter's on her way up here. Mr. Onishi will be here momentarily, and Mr. Kanua will be here momentarily. Thank you. I'm going to be taking public testimony first. Hilo, do you have any public testifiers?
Good afternoon, Chair Ford. Yes, we do have one testifier.
Thank you. We have two here in Kona. Kohala, do you have anyone?
Chair, we do not have any testifiers.
Thank you. Waimea? Excuse me, Waimea?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. No testifiers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ka'u?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. We have no testifiers here in Ka'u.
Thank you very much. So we're going to start over in Hilo with our first testifier. Please bring that person forward.
Our first testifier is Cory Harden, representing Sierra Club Moku Loa Group, and she will be speaking on Communication 1009.
Good afternoon. I understand this communication will be withdrawn, but we still have some comments. I want to start by commending officials for their tremendous response to the current emergency, the lava threat. I think they're doing a fantastic job. However, we hope that lessons from Tropical Storm Iselle will be applied to the lava. First, we urge that Puna geothermal venture be shut down before lava reduces or cuts off Helco power. PGV did not shut down before Iselle. The storm cut power to PGV, causing a geothermal release that residents could not escape because fallen trees blocked the roads. Over 100 people have reported health problems. I've listened to the stories of people who were trapped, and it's just frightening. If another release is triggered by the lava cutting off or even just reducing power to PGV, people trying to escape the release could be blocked by lava evacuation traffic. A release could include steam and brine, which both contain hydrogen sulfide and heavy metals, and there's abatement, but that does not remove heavy metals. Second point, some officials say that PGV may be used as a standalone power source for Lower Puna if lava cuts off Helco power, but that raises some questions. If lava threatens or destroys first responder access or resident evacuation routes or destroys emergency shelters, how would a geothermal release be handled? If lava overruns PGV or just passes nearby and makes things really hot, what will happen to hazardous substances like pentane, caustic soda, and clean out residues of silica contaminated with heavy metals? And if lava blocks the roads, how would PGV be resupplied with materials they need to operate? How would workers travel to the plant? And how would workers get food and gas and other necessities? Last point, it appears that during the storm, private companies had too much say about keeping PGV running. So we urge civil defense to assure citizens that civil defense has the authority and the intent to protect public health and safety. At the Pahoa Merchants meeting on September 10, Helco said that safety of operation at PGV is up to PGV. But we feel it is not acceptable for a privately held company to make profit-driven decisions about the safety of county citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. We're going to move to Kona, and our first testifier will be Tom Travis.
Hello. Thank you for letting me testify today.
Sir, please give your name, and then your testimony is always timed. 2.5 minutes, you'll get a warning bell, and at 3 minutes, you'll get the buzzer. Thank you.
I am Tom Travis, retired Naval Submariner and retired Government Service Director of Studies for the Joint Center for Operations Analysis at the Department of Defense. I'm also one of the Geothermal Public Health Assessment Working Group. I live on Papaya Farms Road in Lower Puna. Emergency response plan for Tropical Storm Iselle was inadequate. Not only was this true in vacation land before, during, and after the event, it was also true in the neighborhoods surrounding PGV. PGV and Helco made a decision to operate the geothermal plant, even though it would, as a certainty, release toxic gas to the neighborhood if the transmission lines were hit by trees, something very likely in high winds. No apparent planning was done by the county. The county did no community education about the impending release, no planning for possible evacuation, and no informative statements to the public. On the 7th of August, the PGV geothermal plant released a significant amount of hydrogen sulfide gas into the atmosphere beginning at 7:26 p.m. Shortly after that time, many residents in the surrounding area began to become sick. Civil defense suggested evacuation for people experiencing discomfort, even though roads were impassable, even for the fire department. People were trapped in their homes, unable to take any action to protect themselves. My wife, Laura, has begun a process of establishing documentation packages for those that have come forward. It currently is at 130 and is increasing. Of those 130, Laura has evaluated 52 to a degree that I am ready to present that data to you now.
Excuse me, Mr. Travis. I'm going to call you up to discuss the chart because you'll never get it in for 3 minutes. So if you want to finish your testimony, and then we'll get you back up here. Thank you.
Those 52 people experienced symptoms from significant lethargy, something we've defined as essentially passing out, to skin rashes and severe respiratory. One person possibly died as a consequence. Many people, including several from the Department of Health, have tried to dismiss these health issues. In almost every regard, the reasons they have cited for this dismissal have been specious. I am confident that as we pursue the facts, we will understand that there were consequences of the release of geothermal toxins. I recommend that you use your influence to try to get involvement of the Environmental Protection Agency and the Center for Disease Control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Travis. Mr. Petricci? Again, if you've got anything to show us, like the chart, please hold it off. I will bring you back up, but I want to hear your testimony first. Thank you, sir. Okay. Push the bar at the bases. Try it again.
Aloha, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I submitted written comments. I hope you'll take a look at that. I'm just going to elaborate on that. This here are newspaper articles starting in about 1977 of geothermal accidents. There's probably 100 of them. I don't have time to go through it, but everything that is in here has been being talked about. Here's a packet of them. Lethal levels released. 70 people complain sick. 40 people complain about being sick. On and on and on and on. And so what is more likely, that all of these people are imagining this, making it up, or they're out to get PGV, or there's a problem in the community? You know, I mean, this has been going on for 30 years, and we need help. been asking for help, and we're not getting it. Why is Puna having to call public meetings to bring out HELCO and civil defense? And why are we having to document health impacts? You know, what is wrong? What is wrong? Why isn't the government doing its job to protect these people? Or if there's no problem, as PGV and some other people maintain, why can't there be a monitoring system set up out there to prove that after 30 years? Prove us wrong. If we are wrong, if we're not, the PGV is not a problem, simply put the monitors in and prove it. Otherwise, help us, please. Last night, there was another release. I've got a Jerome. Thank you very much for authorizing the money for this Jerome monitor. Last night was the first time that I used it, about 8 o'clock. I took 17 readings. 8 of them were between 125 parts per billion and 157 parts per billion, and that was around the power plant in the community. I had one reading last night of 1.016 parts per million. That's 1,016 parts per billion in the community last night, and PGV says they're not doing anything. The fire department calls up PGV and says, what's going on? They say, there's nothing going on. The fire department says, well, it must be some other source. This machine costs $18,000. This is what your fire department has. This costs $200. And the fire chief is asking me, why isn't it registering on this monitor that costs $200? Is there something wrong with the brand new $18,000 machine? It has a data logger. All of that stuff is verified and provable. We need help. It's way past time. Do something, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Petricci. Okay, at this time, we're going to Communication 1009.
Communication 1009 requests a report from the Public Works Director and the Civil Defense Administrator on Hurricane Tropical Storm Iselle's impact on the Puna community. From Council Member Brenda J. Ford, dated August 26, 2014.
Thank you. May I have a motion from someone to file Communication 1009? I will.
I move to file Communication 1009.
And a second, please. Second. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the Vice Chair, which is Margaret Willey, because this is my communication, and I will be talking about it. Thank you. And please let the record show that Ms. Willey has assumed the chair.
Madam.
Assume the chair, that I have assumed the chair on the Committee on Public Safety and Mass Transit.
Madam Chair, may I make a point of order? May I make a point of order? My point of order, I wanted to get Corp Counsel to find out exactly what can we discuss regarding this communication.
I don't see that as the point of order, and I will go on.
It's the order where we do business. No, I'm trying to.
No. Okay.
Madam Chair,
no.
I don't.
No, I haven't.
No.
Are you addressing him?
No, I'm asking permission to ask what. I'm confused about what he's saying.
I already denied it.
Okay.
Point of order. It's the same thing we have here. This is a report from DWS and Civil Defense, and I think we might. I think it makes sense to do that.
Then I'm sorry, it's denied. Ms. Ford, you can speak on the substance. You're not to speak on the point of order.
I do accept that. May I have Mr. Travis and Mr. Petricci?
I move to appeal the chair's decision.
There's no second. May I continue? Thank you. I put forward this subject to understand the impact on the community of the Hurricane Tropical Storm Iselle on the community of Puna. I did request a report from the Director of Public Works and Civil Defense. Last Sunday, as I mentioned this morning, last Sunday, in view of the encroaching lava flow towards Pahoa and the massive effort being made by the County of Hawaii to make sure the public can safely evacuate, do all these other things, I asked the directors not to come to give this report because they're literally working 24/7. That does not mean, however, that we cannot discuss the impact on the community. As you know, several people have already come up and testified, and they are anxious to give the rest of their information.
And Ford, you can proceed with that.
Thank you. Mr. Petricci and Mr. Travis, please come forward. Mr. Travis, I'm going to start with you. And you brought in a chart.
This is a chart that I prepared using data from my wife's effort to document.
Point of order. My point of order is we're stepping on legal bounds. Can we find out legally what can we do?
Look at me. What is it that you say that again?
Can we just call up Corp Council and find out what our boundaries are legally on what we can discuss? It's legal matters here. As you as a lawyer, you should understand.
I don't see this as that question. Would you like to speak?
I would. Good afternoon, Chair Willie, members of the Committee on Public Safety and Mass Transit, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. I think what Councilmember Iligan is getting at is that what this is agendized as is a request for a report from the Department of Public Works and from Civil Defense. I would be careful to stay within the confines of what it is agendized as, which is receiving a report. I understand there were members from the public here to give testimony on that, and that's fine. But due to other obligations, those members of the director and the Civil Defense Administrator are not available to be here today. Since you can't receive the report from them, I think you'd be straying from what's on the agenda to start receiving other kinds of reports or having a discussion between the council members here. So I would really caution you that you need to stay within the confines of what's on the agenda.
Let me ask you a question then. I can allow them to come in and extend their public testimony. Shouldn't I be able to do that?
If that's consistent with the council rules.
In other words, what we're doing is these are people that came here, want to be part of the discussion. We cut them off and said that they would be able to continue their speaking afterwards. Unless it's illegal, I feel they should be allowed to continue. Now, if we don't want to do it as part of, they're not here reporting for the department. I think that unless there's something illegal about allowing them to speak, that we should allow them to proceed. We did tell them they could come back up.
Yeah, I think if you're offering the courtesy of allowing them to extend their public testimony, as I think the council has done in other cases, that would be okay. Just would caution the council with the discussion that you might want to have, be mindful of what's actually on the agenda.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Since I have the floor, may I comment?
You may comment.
Thank you.
Wait, excuse me, point of order. I'm sorry, Ms. Ford, but she needs to make a determination on Mr. Iligan's point of order first.
Okay. If you, let me just direct it to you. Is it illegal for us to continue with this item as we were doing, and you would think we should go with the continuing public
if you were allowing some members of the public who had given testimony an additional opportunity to expand on that, I think the council has done that in the past, and I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, so I am agreeable to that, and if there's any other further discussion on doing it in that manner, we would be accommodating the public. But I don't feel I want to allow any other comments before we proceed. If you would like to speak, but after Ms. Ford.
No, just point of information. Okay, so if we're going to just accept testimony from public, council members cannot question them.
Okay.
Okay, we just got to listen to what their discussion is, their testimony, but we need to set a time limit because we...
I understand.
So that's where you got to make the call.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but if others, I want to allow anybody else that wants to speak on this before we go ahead.
Yeah. Point of order
just let Ms. Ford go.
Point of order too, though, because I don't agree with testifiers. We give them the 3 minutes. Everybody has that, and my committee was 3 minutes too. And if somebody wanted to do a presentation, then I feel like I would be setting precedents and letting testifiers who need a half hour to explain all this stuff, then I put myself in that same position. So I don't agree with what's going on right now, and I want to, for me, the point of order is we need to stick to the agenda.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if, people came from away thinking you were doing a big presentation, because I didn't expect that. Thank you.
May I please speak again? Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, the subject matter is Hurricane Tropical Storm Iselle, impact on community. These gentlemen are here representing the community. They will not be speaking on the report, which we've never received, from the administration. They're not going to speak to the report. We cannot speak to the report because it hasn't been presented. All they're going to do is give a very short presentation. This is not going to take 30 minutes.
Point of order?
Yeah,
Sorry, sure.
Go right ahead.
A, we're not supposed to be extending public testimony, because if we give somebody 5 minutes, we should give everybody 5 minutes. If we give somebody 10 minutes, we should give everybody 10 minutes. Just in fairness, no offense to any to you guys. I think what you guys have to say is probably very important. I just want to be consistent in what we're doing. We don't do that when we do call up public testimony. It's to in the past, it's always to ask a point of clarification. This should state, if we wanted to get into this, discussion of this issue, not report, but report and discussion. And so I think we're fringing. And you just said we're doing a presentation. Again, I just don't want. We're going about to get in trouble.
Let me say, we told them that they could come back up, and for that reason, I would give them another 3 minutes each. And I think that is within my authority. I mean, if we want to appeal and vote and go through it, that's fine. But we did say they could come back up and speak, and so I would. That's my inclination. But I want to hear if anyone else has something to say. Drew?
Not really on this, but it is 3:15. We were supposed to start.
I agree.
Human Services and Social Services Committee at 3 o'clock, which we have a presentation for. They did fly in from Oahu, and it's very time sensitive, so.
Okay. I would like to go and give them each 3 minutes, and that's what I rule. But if someone would like to take the time and do an appeal, I'd rather just go through and give them the 3 minutes. So I ask your indulgence for that 3 minutes, and we'll proceed.
Thank you. Do I have the floor again?
No. That's it. I've ruled, and then so unless there's an appeal of that, I'd like to go ahead with the 3 minutes each. And Wiley, you're on the time.
This is a presentation of data that was collected by my wife, Laura. 130 people, and it's increasing every day, have come forward saying they experienced health effects associated with the release on the evening of the 7th of August. 52 are plotted on this graph of that 130. 8 experienced severe lethargy. Severe lethargy is defined as essentially being knocked out. People that were walking to their car and didn't make it to the car, or people that couldn't be awakened, said, hey, I got to lay down. Their wife and kids tried to awaken them, and they couldn't be awakened. So that's what severe lethargy is.
Point of order. Point of order. Madam Chair. Okay, the request is...
we've discussed...
No, I understand, but it seems like we're talking about the geothermal. But this is what it seems like.
Okay, she said no, she has a point of order. Can you hear my point of order? he's not testifying on, or he's not coming forward and giving testimony on Communication 1009, which we're talking about is a request of report from Public Works Director and the Civil Defense Administrator on Hurricane Tropical Storm Iselle's impact on the Puna community. We're hearing about, I don't believe this is based on that.
Point of order. The reason they're here, that they drove almost 3 hours to get here, is to present the community's perspective. They are not discussing the report. We have, all of us, the right to call people up from the audience. And point of...
I feel they made the connection. That's what they're discussing. I'm giving them a little latitude of the... So would you please...
And the point of order, too, is I didn't know we were having a presentation. So that was...
Okay.
I'm not giving a presentation personally.
Okay, no. Okay, Tom, can you...
right again.
Finish your presentation, your testimony.
Yes.
On the impacts of the hurricane on the geothermal plant, which is bothering the community.
But it doesn't state that in this agenda. I want to put it on record.
Of the 52 people, 8 experienced severe lethargy. 31 experienced lethargy, meaning that they had trouble staying awake over the next day or several days. 14 experienced mental fog. Either they couldn't speak coherently, they lost their balance.
And can you just tie this together so we have clarity in terms of the hurricane?
This occurred because, yes, I'll start again. It was in my testimony, but I'll state it again. There was a very predictable release of geothermal toxins on the night of the hurricane. Anyone that understands how the plant works understands that if you cut the transmission lines from the plant has to lift relief valves, releasing geothermal steam into the atmosphere. That was done. The county did nothing to prepare the community for that eventuality. The county did nothing to inform the community that it was going to happen, and the county gave, frankly, silly advice to the people that experienced these symptoms. That's the connection to the emergency response. These are the symptoms that these people experience. They experience these things while trapped in their homes. 5 experienced cardiovascular effects or chest pain. 42 of the 52 experienced respiratory problems. 33 experienced headaches. 21 experienced blurred vision or irritation of the eyes. 1 experienced skin problems. 15 experienced nausea. That is the 52 effects. This is Puna geothermal venture. The blue dots are the people that experienced, all the 52 people are the blue dots. You can see they're clustered right here by PGV. The red dots are those that experience severe lethargy.
Thank you, Council. My name is Robert Petricci. I'm the president of Puna Pono Alliance, and so we had no workable emergency response the night of Hurricane or Tropical Storm Iselle, as evidenced by all the people that were trapped in their homes. And we came to this council and we asked for an emergency response plan that would actually be workable, and you passed one for us, and we really appreciated it. The mayor vetoed that, and in its place we got a 3-fold brochure that absolutely 100% failed to protect anybody in that community. So that's how this is related to what we're talking about here today. And so we would like the council, as Tom Travis said, to join us. We're working with Brian Schatz, and the Windward Planning Commission has recommended that we bring in the CDC and the EPA. We would really like the council to consider joining us. And let's get to the bottom of this. What is the truth? Well, the CDC would be much more able to help us determine that. And so if that's what we really want to know, is what's really happening out there, is that so unreasonable to ask for? Can you please help us with that? This has been going on for 30 years. I think the county at this point is responsible. You issued the GRP permit. When that happened, I came before this council and I told you everything that's happening now was probably going to happen, and that you needed to have these kind of monitoring and regulatory things in place. And here we are 30 years later, and we're still here asking for what is common decency, a monitoring program that will protect us, an emergency response program that can get us out of there if we're being poisoned in our homes, and some kind of way or agency to evaluate that. So I, as a community person, don't have to go out and find out who was sick and have a monitor and run around at 3 o'clock in the morning when people call me to get readings. Why, can't you see and understand that that is not okay? And that after all this time, why is it either that all these people make this up, imagine it, are conspiring against poor PGV, or is there possibly a problem with what's happening at that power plant that's sited in the middle of a residential community? That power plant is the hottest and most toxic geothermal resource on the planet, and there's no buffer zones, and we have nobody out there. I'll tell you, I used that for the first time last night. I can prove that what's happening now. So who do I take it to? What do I do with it? There's a data logger on there that says last night in the community we had 1 part per million. Well, the violation for PGV is 25 parts per billion. So Department of Health doesn't want to hear it. So what are we supposed to do? The next thing, I'm going to summarize. The next thing, which we're trying very hard to avoid, is civil disobedience. There are people... Okay. Well, that's what's going to happen, unfortunately, because people are that desperate.
Yeah, I'm not going to entertain any discussion on this, and we are going to move forward. If there's a point of order, I'll entertain that, but otherwise...
Point of order, you need to give the floor to Ms. Ford.
Good. Yeah. I want to withdraw this if I could ever get the floor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for driving almost 3 hours to come here, and thank you... Well, I can't thank the council. Anyway, I'm going to withdraw Communication 1009.
Okay, thank you.
Move to adjourn.